Hello folks, back with another review and thoughts on. I just got done checking out a flick called Monstrous, which is a horror flick, I think 2020. I forgot the year. But yeah, it's a Bigfoot, apparently, movie. And this movie was boring as well. I'm not really into Bigfoot movies, because they're lame, mostly. Same with alien movies. Most of the time it's either downbeat where the monster kills the person, or the aliens take the person, or the government steps in and kills the survivors. Well, this one had a okay ending where the Bigfoot is not actually the villain, although that can be debated by the beginning of the movie. Because the movie opens with two girls in a car. They're driving. I guess this Bigfoot must be out for revenge, apparently. I guess, because you get the gist that they ran over something, so it must have been a Bigfoot's kid or something, or mate. It must be a kid, and this girl ends up, whose name is Alice, I think, and she leaves her friend out to die. Although you find out it's not her. I guess it wasn't her friend, essentially. But she left this girl out and let the Bigfoot kill her. And then it cuts to 3 years later, I believe, or whatever years later. And then we get our lead girl, who I forget her name. But the lead girl has a guy friend. I think his name's Jamie, I believe. But yeah, he's into Bigfoot stuff, pretty much. And apparently there's been disappearances of girls in the woods, and he thinks it's Bigfoot, and she doesn't. And also she lost a best friend. I think she said it was her sister, I believe. Shows how forgettable this movie is. The poster made it look kind of interesting, but then, the movie, nope. But yeah, she doesn't want to join this guy because he goes on Craigslist, and I guess I didn't understand what the Craigslist thing was, because what the ad said, I couldn't even understand what the ad was. I know what Craigslist is, I just didn't know what the ad was saying. I didn't understand it, but I guess this girl Alice wants a road buddy for the day or something, or to drive her out to a certain destination. But then, so he decides he's not gonna do it, but then the lead girl decides to do it because she wants to find out what happened to her friend among those woods or whatever, that area. So she decides to meet up with this stranger named Alice, thinking it was a guy, but it's actually a female. And then we get girl on girl scenes at least 3 times in this movie. This director, I can't remember if it was directed by a woman or a guy. I'm going with a guy. But yeah, and then they get to the house, or no, they get to a hotel first, and then they make out at that hotel, and then they get to a house, and then they make out the house, and then they make out again, and then there's this sound system that keeps the Bigfoot away. But then we find out this Alice character, the lead character who met up on Craigslist, who she's been shacking up with now, she ends up being a serial killer who's been killing all these girls, apparently, I guess. Or either kidnapping them, or yeah, I guess kidnapping them and killing them, because our lead girl finds a camcorder with footage on it. And then she finds an actual prisoner of the girl. And then that prisoner gets away eventually. But then she dies because she was stupid and didn't kill the killer girl. Or a captor or whatever. She decides to just... She lets her slice her throat. So then that girl... Because then the lead girl she gets taken by the Bigfoot later on. And then the Bigfoot just leaves. We thought he might have killed the guy, because then the guy friend, Jamie, he decides to road trip along, but he goes out there first, and then he gets taken out by the Bigfoot, but then he's still alive, come to find out later on when she gets taken. So then they meet up, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. But yeah, then they're like, how come he didn't kill us? And then she's like, I have to go back for that girl. And he's like, no. And then I'm like, no, go with him and go back to the cops. And then, but then she goes back to the house, of course, and it's a waste of time because that girl's dead. Because the killer kills that girl that she said she would go back for. And then the two have a tussle, and then the lead girl burns the killer's face a little bit, and then she knocks her out, and then I forget what happens next. I totally forget. Somehow they're out. Okay, so somehow they're outside. They make it outside, I guess, or something, and the lead girl's getting her face beaten by the killer girl with a rock, literally going to town on her face. And then the Bigfoot comes along and I guess saves the lead girl, because he ends up grabbing her, grabs her around the neck and then throws her on the ground, and then literally just slowly crushes her head with his foot. Good gore effect. I'll give the movie that. The one gore effect in this movie, really. One good one that we see that's actually decent, unlike the lame, slice. Even the look of the Bigfoot was okay. I didn't mind it. Not amazing. It was okay. But yeah, then he picks her up and then the Jamie character comes back to the house, of course, and then he sees the Bigfoot carrying the lead girl, and I was like, I laughed out loud because I'm like, okay, so she's been beaten up. I mean, I saw how it would end, or how he was gonna just pick her up and take her back, and pretty much they're showing that the Bigfoot is not really hostile much, or really the villain of this movie, but it's us humans. But yeah, he's holding her, and then the Jamie character guy is staring out at the Bigfoot, holding his friend on the deck or whatever that is, and instead like gently laying her down or watching how he gently puts her down, he just literally drops her on the deck. Nonchalantly, I swear, nonchalant. He has her in his arms, and then he just drops his arms, and she falls head first, body first, on that hardwood. And then he just walks away. I'm like, wow. If she's not dead, if she wasn't already half dead, she has major head issues, injuries, because her face is all battered up, bashed in, her eye is messed up, she has cuts on her face. And then to top it all off, we have a Bigfoot who, has to be 10 times whatever strength. And he just literally ragdolls her on the floor, or on the hard wood of the dock or wherever they're at, and then just walks off. I'm like, wow. And how are you alive after that? How do you open your eyes and function? I was done when when that happened. I was like, wow. I mean, granted, he's not... And then they go in the car, and they drive off, and it cuts back and forth to the Bigfoot walking off into the woods, and then them driving off, and then the Bigfoot walking, and then them driving off, and then the Bigfoot walking. I'm like, okay. And then the movie just ends. What is with all this? I saw another recent movie. Well, not really. It's not new, but I think it was 2017. It's called Bone Hill Road. That's a werewolf movie. Low budget for sure. But that one had a serial killer in it for most of the movie instead of werewolves. And like the werewolves were in it, but they would just stand outside most of the time. And we just focused on the serial killer guy who was over the top as fuck. And I didn't understand that. I don't understand half of these movies. Oh, we want to be different. Instead of just being a generic monster movie, we're going to be another movie as well inside of that monster movie. Like, no, stick with the... People come to see a werewolf movie. People come to see a Bigfoot movie. You show them the Bigfoot. At least in a movie like Exist, lost footage film. That has a Bigfoot in it. That has... I didn't really love the movie, but I didn't mind it. But at least that one, you see the Bigfoot, and it's more terrorizing and more scary than the one in this movie. And granted, he is a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, they don't really show him all that much in this movie, so it's like, what am I to be afraid of? I'm more afraid of if I was injured and he happened to pick me up and then I was like battered like she was and he just drops me and then... Yeah, that part, again, that part. Man. But yeah, overall, this movie was fine. Not even fine, it was a time waster. It was boring. I don't know if, again, it's not scary, but the acting was okay, the story is whatever. Cinematography's fine. I don't know. Now I'm going to check out another movie called Shifter.